Hi guys, this is Sean Gannon, future President of the United States of America, and I have a book review and my thoughts on it of the book called Lone Survivor. Okay, now Lone Survivor is an eyewitness account of the Operation Red Wing and the lost heroes of SEAL Team 10. It follows Marcus Luttrell. He's the lone survivor. He's the Navy SEAL who wrote this book. Okay, and he wrote with assistance from novelist and ghostwriter Patrick Robinson, and is published by Little Brown and Company. Okay, so give a summary of kind of what happens within the book. Not trying to give away too many things within the book. Obviously, you know that he is the lone survivor. Okay, beginning, Marcus Luttrell talks about his childhood. Growing up and getting involved, preparing for the Navy SEALs with a man named Billy Shelton who helped train him. He joined the Navy and completed SEAL training, and he describes his posting in Afghanistan, okay, in the Hindu Kush mountains of the Kunar province. Okay, basically what happens is they go out there and on a mission, and they ended up meeting out in the mountains there. They ended up coming across where three shepherds encountered them, and one of them was a boy. They debated killing the shepherd so it wouldn't give away the position, but they decided not to and to let them go. And that's when the whole fighting starts, okay, very quickly after that. So the shepherds went and told the Taliban where they were, and big firefight ensues. Okay, Marcus Luttrell was one of the only 4 men on that mission to survive, and the more soldiers eventually came in to help, and they to try to save them, and they ended up dying as well. Okay. Later on, after Marcus Luttrell was basically left for dead, they couldn't really find him. He was rescued by an Afghan Pashtun villagers who harbored him in their home for several days, okay, and eventually brought him to safety. So, quick summary of what happened. Okay. Few of my thoughts within the book was pretty good. He starts off what it's like to be a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, and I thought that was very eye-opening for me. He talks about the mental toughness of being a SEAL and going through the training. That was, I think, the biggest eye-opening for me. I always knew that the Navy SEALs were the elite fighting force, and they always say it's more mental than physical. But he really lays it out in the book on once you have that seed in your brain that you want to give up, you're going to give up. For those who go through SEAL training. And I think it's a good analogy on life, to be honest, that once you allow that seed into your brain, it's almost impossible to get back from that. He also talked about there was no shame for those who didn't pass SEAL training. They were really pushed and ingrained to the SEALs who kept going, that if a Navy or a SEAL recruit or someone who was trying to become a Navy SEAL through the training there, so they're not a SEAL yet, if they end up giving up and ringing the bell, that there wasn't any shame in that, and they, if they did end up making fun of them in any way, they would definitely be reamed out. It's not really showing that brotherhood there, and recognizing that being a SEAL is not for everyone. Okay, it's a pretty accomplishment to get that far into training. And then the physical aspect of being a Navy SEAL. The training is intense. I mean, they are the elite fighting forces of the United States and the world. And so the physicality there and the training they receive is definitely higher than anyone else. And it goes into what he can about what their training is like. One thing I also liked about the book, it mentions the brotherhood of the SEALs and how closely they are intertwined together. And I think, not that, I mean, I've never served in the military, so I can't speak upon what it's like, but I can only imagine from what I've read and heard people is, I think the SEALs have a strong, very, very strong brotherhood. And I think it kind of happens as you go up to the more elite fighting forces, that it's a camaraderie there, that they know how far they've gone or how hard it is to get there, and so there is definitely a closeness there. And I think part of that's with the SEAL code, that no one gets left behind, that you never leave another SEAL member behind, and that's part of their code there, no matter what, even if they perished on the battlefield. So that was cool to see and or listen to when I was listening to the audiobook. That I think that brings part of their closeness together. The book also mentions a lot of heroics, and I don't want to necessarily give away all of the heroics that happened within the book, because I think it's definitely worth hearing it firsthand or reading it firsthand from Marcus Luttrell. I don't think I would do them justice, but the book had a lot of great heroic acts in there, and it definitely got me a little emotional when I was listening to it. And it really shows the sacrifice that these individuals made for their country. Definitely talks about honor and courage. I kind of put those together there, about honor and serving the country, and doing the right thing. And courage, well, honor there those who sacrifice themselves on the mission to always help their brothers out, and those who went to try to rescue Marcus Luttrell and the other SEALs while they were out in the battlefield, that no one batted an eye, and they all went out there trying to save them. And that brings to courage. The book talks immensely about these courageous men and what they did, and that was really, really nice to hear. And it's worth hearing those stories, that these people who did these courageous acts deserve to have their stories told. He also brings up the importance of his firearm, his gun there, multiple times, and how it was, he always thought that God was there helping him, guiding him, making sure his gun there landed next to him so many times. But it really showed in the battlefield that is a very important tool for survival. And then one thing I really liked about the book is Marcus does a good job, or Mr. Luttrell, good job of his perception of the people there, and he goes through his initial reaction when he gets rescued by the Pashtun people, but how that kind of changes over time and understanding their code. So basically what happened was there's Nana Watai, excuse my pronunciation there. It's a tenet of the Pashtun code, the Pashtun people, and it allows a person to enter into the house of a person and make a request that cannot be refused in a sense there. So even at the cost of the host's own life or fortune, okay? And then Nana, that is like some asylum, basically, yeah, the Nana Watai. And so what happened was the Pashtun village there, they decided to enact this for Marcus Luttrell, that they would all fight to the death to save him for whatever reason, but they decided to make that pact, and so they had an oath to protect their guest till the end. And so Marcus doesn't understand that in the beginning, and later on he recognizes that, but you can see he talks about his transition and his understanding of those people in the situation that they're in there, that this Pashtun group chose to save Marcus over giving him over to the Taliban there. And with that, he talks about the evils of the Taliban. Those are very common knowledge out there, but it's important to reaffirm that is how evil the Taliban are and were, and what they would do, and how they would get kids at a young age, have them come fight, and a lot of people in that area there, they get a lot of young boys to fight for them, kind of almost brainwash them in a sense, and a lot of people in the Pashtun village, a lot of the young boys, get taken off to fight for the Taliban, especially there's an incident where there's a young boy who's a part of the Taliban there and was excited and happy when Marcus was getting beaten and things like that, which I don't think is kind of shows evils of the Taliban. Another thing Marcus talks about is the reaction of people back home. He talks about the hatred people have for people in the military who don't really understand what's going on or don't really want to understand. But also he mentions the love that happened while he was missing in action during that time period, that the amount of support of the people in Texas gave to his family was immense, that many people, business owners that didn't even know Marcus, were there helping the mother bring him food, and everyone was praying and there to support the family during that time period. And they kept reassuring that he is not, Marcus isn't dead until the Navy says he is, that he is still alive and he's still out there. Okay, so it was kind of it was really nice to see that unity. I think that's something you get in Texas, and he talks about that, how it's the Texas people, the Texas way, but I do believe there's something special about Texas there, and how the camaraderie of people who are Texans that I think other states don't necessarily have. And so all in all, the story of Marcus Luttrell and what he did, I think is a great story, and it's one of those things I think is very good for young men, especially to read, to hear the courage of those who lost their lives, as well as facing those evils and still standing up and still that perseverance, that moving on. And so I think this is definitely a great book for young men to read. And to be honest, I'd love to shake Marcus Luttrell's hand. I think he's an American hero, and the book shows what he went through, and a very, very good account of it. And so, Marcus, if you ever watch this, I'd love to meet you one day and shake your hand, sir. So, anyway, this is my thoughts and my reviews of finishing the book of Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell. This is Sean Gannon, future president, signing off.